Good evening. Welcome to Lebanon Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for Monday, October the 4th. Could we have roll call, please?
Okay. Mark Vandeman.
Here.
Chad Kiger.
Here.
Bruce Pauley.
Here.
Ron Edwards.
Here.
Lori Gross. Here.
Okay, we have everybody here tonight. I need an approval of the minutes from last month.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from September 7th.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have 4 items of business tonight. First item, by the way, this is a public meeting, so anybody will be able to speak that cares to when at the appropriate time. Our first item has been withdrawn by the applicant. It's a docket number 2148. Dustin Kessler requested a variance for side setbacks, and he has decided to withdraw his request. So the new business is docket 2154. David Jones, representing Key Car Wash, requesting a development standard variance for an electronic message board and an off-premise sign. The property is located at 1800 North Lebanon Street in the zone PBC, Planned Business Commercial, and within the Thoroughfare Overlay District. Ben?
Good evening, board members. Give you a little bit of background on this. I'm sure you all have noticed, and I'm happy to report that the Key Car Wash is under construction out there on the site. A little bit of history here. This came before the board originally in April of 2019 when they were designing the site and received a number of variances associated with site and building design, and then went to the Plan Commission at their April 2019 meeting and received development plan approval. So they have received their building permits and is under construction and working with Mr. Jones, the applicant, on the signs for the site and what he intends in terms of signage for both on the site and then also to provide some directional sign to folks who may be coming out of the neighborhood to the south. So the first would be his primary sign that would be out on the entrance on Lebanon Street. If they want to bring up the screen, we'll kind of walk through this. This is the primary sign. This does meet all of our size requirements and height requirements. And the applicant did want to be able to have a larger digital display to be able to advertise specials, events in this community, things like that. And in order to do that, needed a little bit larger display other than, just the typical Key Car Wash. So our ordinance certainly does allow like the old school channel letter type signs where you can change copy. This is more of a newer type of technology that allows you to do those same things in a little bit nicer format with the digital signs. And our ordinance, when it was written 14 years ago now, really, when it was looking at digital signage, was really anticipating, what you typically saw back then was just like the time and temperature displays, and that's really all you had. And so it usually scrolled, it showed you the time, it showed you the temperature, and that's about all you got. This is a lot different technology you have now in terms of how much detail you can show on signs, so that the technology's just changed a lot over the last 10 or 15 years. So that's a little bit in terms of that. So our ordinance suggests that on a ground sign like this, which can be up to 32 square feet, that only a maximum of 25% of that, or 8 square feet, can be for digital sign. So again, kind of anticipating those time and temperature displays that are really a small, minimal part of the sign. This is something a lot different that you see here now in terms of some of the requests we've had over the last couple of years for digital signage. So that's the first variance, would then to allow that digital sign to be larger than 25% permitted by ordinance. And then the second one, I'll go back to the site plan you see here, just for a little recollection of the site. This is the site that you see in the screen. Their primary entrance is here to the north, and that primary digital ground sign will be up here by this entrance. And what we have here, this site, while it's not adjacent to Northfield Drive, there is an access easement that runs along the back of the property to the south of it that would allow people coming on Northfield Drive to turn in and come through the site to access the car wash site. The challenge there is if there's no signage down there, people aren't going to know that they can turn there. It's not going to be terribly obvious because you're really just traveling through the site to the south. So what they want to be able to do is put just a real simple directional sign down there on that side that says Key Car Wash to turn here, to make sure that people, when they're coming on Northfield Drive, will know that they can turn at that entrance and get to the car wash before they get to the light at Lebanon Street. That is technically, go back to the site plan, while there's an access easement there, that site is not owned by the car wash. So this is technically an off-premise sign. Only permitted in interstate overlays. So again, our ordinance contemplates billboards as off-premise signs. So it allows them along the interstate and of certain sizes. So this is a different type of off-site sign than what our ordinance contemplates. but it does meet that definition. So in order for them to seek approval to put that sign there, they do need a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals in order for them to place that sign off-site. They will provide some directional signage for folks looking to turn into the car wash there so they don't make a mistake and end up out at the light and then having to turn on Lebanon Street and then back into the site. So there's the two requests before you this evening. The first is to allow an electronic message board sign that is larger than the allowable square footage of 8 square feet, and their sign is approximately 20 square feet. And the second then would be that off-premise sign that would allow them to place that directional sign on that secondary entrance that's off-site along that access easement. For reference, there are findings of fact in the staff report. I won't go through all of those related to both of the requests, but for the record, they are located in the staff report. Then in terms of staff recommendations, we do have separate ones for each one of the requests. The first on the electronic message board sign. We have recommended approval of the development standards variance request to permit an increase in the maximum electronic message board sign allowable area subject to the following conditions. We've talked about these conditions. They've kind of evolved over time. We want to make sure that, one, it's not really bright at nighttime when it might cause some issues, and then also that it doesn't involve animation or other things that might cause distraction to drivers. So we do have some related to that. So the first condition then would be that the sign brightness will result in an increase over ambient lighting of no more than 0.4 foot candles. And we've done some research on this. So essentially what we do is we'll go out there during ambient conditions and take a light measurement. And then with the sign on, it can increase that light measurement by no more than 0.4 foot candles. That's something we can easily measure. We have a light meter in our office just to make sure that it's not something that's too bright at nighttime when it might be a distraction. The second one is message transitions, and this kind of goes to the distraction thing. And the sign will be required to have a message time of no less than 10 seconds with a 1 second transition. Again, making sure that that's not rapidly changing where it might distract people from driving on the street. And the third one relates to animation, that the sign will not be permitted to include animation or videos that may cause distractions to motorists on the adjacent street. So it will just need to be a static image or static letters that you see on the screen as opposed to some videos. So again, the technology is there to be able to do videos and animation, but those are things we're a little bit concerned about in terms of distraction, so we want to make sure to limit those to static images and letters that are on the screen. The second then, in terms of recommendations on the off-premise sign, we have recommended approval of the request to permit installation of off-premise signs subject to the following conditions: that the applicant provide an affidavit from the neighboring property owner, that would be 1708 North Lebanon Street, providing permission for the placement of the proposed sign, and I believe the applicant has already provided that to us. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The sign that we're talking about, is the one at Lebanon Memorial Park similar to the one?
Yeah, theirs is actually entirely an electronic message board sign, but it's a similar design and similar technology.
Do you know the foot candles there?
We haven't measured it recently. I'd have to go back and see if we'd measured that one at that time. It's been a little bit since that one was
How
installed.
about size? Similar size?
I think if I recall, the one at the park is a little bit larger than this, because theirs is most of the sign.
Sits back off the road too. Yeah, okay. Did you guys talk about message dwell time in terms of how often the messages transition?
We didn't necessarily talk about the applicant specifically at that, but we did place that recommendation in there. It's similar to one we've
done in the
used
past?
in the past, yeah.
Okay. And then specific transitions, so it fades out or?
Yeah, we want to make sure it's a quick
Doesn't
change
flash.
transition. Yeah, so there's not a long fade and then fade back in, which again, could theoretically cause distraction. So a quick transition, long period of time that the message has to be on there.
This is a 24-hour car wash?
I'll let the applicant, I
Okay.
don't believe so, but I'll let him address that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
The applicant got anything wants to add? Step up there and tell us your hours.
If you would. The hours, right now, we're probably going to be going from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock. We're not definite on that right now. It's not 24 hours, though. It's very similar to crew car wash.
Will your sign be operational while the business is closed?
Probably so. Just like the parks. I mean, it's very
Right.
similar.
And will you be doing any advertising other than for your business on this?
Our intention is to do advertising, work with the schools, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Sorry it's
you,
taking
sir.
so long.
Thank you.
It is a public meeting. Does anybody from the audience care to step forward? Okay, we'll close the public end of the meeting, and if there's no other questions for anybody, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve docket 21-54 and as written. Do you want me to read this, Bruce?
Yeah, we'll do two separate motions.
Yeah,
The
let's
first one.
do it in just two motions, one for each request.
The sign brightness will result in an increase of over the ambient lighting conditions of no more than 0.4 foot candles. And then the message transition, the sign will be required to have a message time of no less than 10 seconds with a 1 second transition period.
One more.
And then the animation. The sign will not be permitted to include animations or videos that may cause distractions to motorists on the adjacent streets.
Okay, now we need a
Second.
second.
I'll second.
Okay. Kelly?
Mark Vandeman,
Aye.
Chad Kiger,
Aye.
Bruce Polly,
Aye.
Ron Edwards.
Aye.
Lori Gross. Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Now we need to do one for the off-street sign?
The off-premise sign.
Yes. So, does anybody have any questions on the off-premise sign?
No.
Okay, then look for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the development standard request to permit the installation of an off-premise sign, subject to the condition that the applicant provide an affidavit from the neighboring property owner, 1708 North Lebanon Street, providing permission for the placement of the proposed sign.
Second.
Motion, have second. Kelly?
Mark Vandeman,
Aye.
Chad Kiger,
Aye.
Bruce Polly,
Aye.
Ron Edwards.
Aye.
Lori Gross.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations. Good luck. Next item on the docket 2156, is Brian and Catherine Ferguson. Property is located at 403 North Lebanon Street in Lebanon. The property is zoned multifamily residential within the thoroughfare overlay district and comprises approximately 1/1200 of an acre. The subject lot configuration is 60 feet wide, 87 feet deep. Ken?
All right, a little bit of history here. Again, this is a site just north of our downtown, and this has historically been used both for residence and business. Certainly the most recent, if you're familiar, it was used as an accountant's office and then also had residents in there. So now we've got someone that has purchased the property and is seeking to use it for a relatively similar use, but they would be using it both for residing in the house, but then also using it for music lessons. So while it is relatively similar to what was being used there before, the use is different in terms of our ordinance, the music studio versus an accounting office. So it is a change of use in an overlay district, which requires us to review it and make sure that it meets the standards of the zoning district that it's in and also of the overlay district. This is in the multifamily zoning district, so ironically, neither the single-family use nor the music studio are permitted by right. So this is coming to you for a use variance to allow those uses to be in this house here. So just a little bit, if they want to pull up the screen, kind of look at the site here, for those that might recall. What you have here is there is a single-car garage in the back of the house and a space for a car in the driveway. The applicant intends to use that for their personal use for the residents. And then the parking that you see here up towards the front, they will use for people that are dropping off kids for their lessons. They don't anticipate that there will ever be that many cars that are really there. Usually people are either walking or dropping kids off here, not really staying. But there is space for them to provide at least 2 cars off street on the side for people that are dropping kids off for their lessons. So they do have plenty of parking for their use here. And then obviously everything will be contained within the house that you see here. So again, I mentioned because this is a multifamily zoning district, that the uses for single family and the music use are not permitted by right, so they require a use variance request to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So again, for the record, we do have findings of fact in the staff report related to the use variance request, and Finally, staff recommendation, we do recommend approval of the variance of use request to permit a single-family residential use and music studio within the multifamily residential zoning classification. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Guess there's no questions.
The applicant certainly is here to talk to a little about how they plan to use the house.
Would the applicant step forward and tell us a little bit about it?
Hi, my name is Katie Ferguson, and I just want to thank you for your time for reviewing this. And I actually grew up here in Lebanon, so it's cool because I started teaching when I was 15, and then went down to Florida, got my bachelor's, then my master's in music, taught as an adjunct professor at a few different universities and colleges, and just moved back to Lebanon with my husband about 2 months ago, and thought, you know what? How cool would it be to come back here and start a music studio? So we're really excited to be back by family, to be back in my hometown, and to continue in teaching music right where I started.
What is the name of your business?
Cornerstone Music Studio.
A little free advertising for you there.
Yes. Thank you. So we'll be teaching piano, guitar, and violin, and some ukulele as well. So both private and then some small group lessons as well.
The hours of operation you're going to have.
We're looking at Monday to Tuesday, 3 to about 8 in the evening. So.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, if there's no question, this is a public meeting. Anybody from the audience care to step forward and say anything? Okay, we will close the public end of the meeting. If there's no further questions, look for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve docket 21-56 to approve the variance of use request to permit single-family residence use and music studio within the multifamily residential zoning classification.
I would second.
Okay, motion, we got a second. Kelly?
Mark Vanneman,
Aye.
Chad Kiger,
Aye.
Bruce Pauly,
Aye.
Ron Edwards,
Aye.
Lori Gross.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, good luck. Last item for tonight will be docket number 2157, William Mattingly Concrete. Property is located at 516 Indianapolis Avenue in Lebanon. Property is zoned in the general industrial within the thoroughfare overlay district and comprised of approximately 7/400 of an acre. The subject lot configuration is 125 feet wide, 265 feet deep. Ben?
All right, this is a unique property here. It is actually, while it has an Indianapolis Avenue address, the property doesn't actually front on Indianapolis Avenue. It's actually tucked back in behind a row of houses and a couple of businesses that you see here, and actually then there's the electric substation back behind it. So it's in an area where all of this area is zoned general industrial, the ID district, which is our heavy industrial zoning district, but you have a variety of uses from commercial to residential to multifamily to industrial. This site, the previous user who actually owned it for quite a while had a large storage building here, and as you can see, kind of stored a variety of different materials, trailers, equipment, cars, etc., for his personal use. This property never actually even had a mailbox, so he really just used it just for storing certain things over time, and not much more than that. There's not even any utilities to this building. So it really has been a low intensity use, but it's a property that really didn't see a lot of maintenance over time, really just kind of grown up with weeds, wasn't maintained very well, and had a lot of just equipment and stuff stored out there. In terms of what the applicant is Mattingly Concrete. They do own a concrete business that does work all around the area. And I'll let them walk through exactly how they intend to use this property, but they are going to intend to store some equipment and some raw materials at this site, which are all permitted by right within the ID General Industrial Zoning District, the use and the outdoor storage. However, because this is in the Thoroughfare Overlay District, outdoor storage is not permitted. This one is unique, though, because while it is in the thoroughfare overlay district associated with Indianapolis Avenue, it doesn't front on Indianapolis Avenue, and it's not even visible from Indianapolis Avenue. So in terms of the visibility of outdoor storage, you won't even see it from the thoroughfare that standard's associated with. So we have worked with them a little bit in terms of how they intend to improve the property, and the applicant does have a little bit of a presentation for you to talk about what they're intending to do. But we wanted to make sure primarily to provide some additional screening to those houses that are directly kind of to the northeast of the property. So they do intend over the next year to make other improvements to the site, but in addition, install a privacy fence along this northeastern property line to provide a more permanent screen between their property and those houses to the northeast. In terms of the properties that you can see around to the northwest is an additional industrial building. We don't feel like screening from there, certainly not from the substation, any reason really to screen from there. So we did want to provide those homes some additional screening, additional privacy across there. So we did work with them in order to provide some of those improvements there. And again, this would be a request to allow outdoor storage on the property, and I'll let them walk through a little bit more detail exactly what they're planning. Again, for the record, there are findings of fact in the staff report. And recommendation, planning staff does recommend approval of the development standards variance request to allow outdoor storage, subject to the following conditions, and that would be that the applicant install the proposed privacy fence along the northeast property line or adjacent to existing residential uses within 1 year of variance approval. That, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Any storage of hazardous materials?
Other than fuel for their vehicles, which would be in one of those overhead containers that would have to meet all the standards associated with those tanks. Other than that, my understanding is no.
Ben, what's to the southeast of the parcel?
The southeast, I believe, is another overgrown.
It's like woods, or is it?
Yeah, I think it is a wooded area, but you can tell it's associated with this building that's further to the south, and I think they've just got some junk and other things stored in that area. To be totally honest with you, I think there's more homeless people in that area than there are other things that happen. So.
Okay. So that's not residential there to the south?
No, it is not residential to the south either.
Or to the southwest?
Correct.
Okay.
What about hours of operation? Do you know that?
I'll let them walk through that in their presentation with you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Would Mr. Mattingly step forward?
Thank you. Can you guys see the presentation that's on the screen here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Will Mattingly. I'm the owner of Mattingly Concrete. We have several employees that live in Lebanon. I grew up in Westfield, so not far away. So Lebanon's always been near and dear to us in a certain way. And this property came up. The zoning was industrial. We were unaware of the overlay requirements, but we're happy to meet those. Essentially what we'd like to use this property for, it has a 60 by 60 metal building on it. We intend to, we've already painted the building, we intend to spruce up the lot and make a few necessary changes to allow us to use this as a maintenance facility for our heavy duty trucking. These trucks are vocational trucks. They transport gravel and demolished material to and from jobs throughout the day. And to answer your question about hours, approximately 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's kind of our rule in the construction industry, not to disturb most people. So a little bit about us. We're heading into our 35th year in business. We have locations in Indianapolis, Carmel, Waverly on the south side, and Cincinnati, Ohio. We've been in a number of business publications for our growth, and we'd like to kind of include Lebanon as a location in that family. We're primarily servicing homeowners and municipalities with concrete replacement services. And we have a growing network of internal operations that we'd like to use this facility for. Here's a rudimentary map that I came up with that kind of shows where we're going to park things, where we're going to store material, again, gravel, sand, cement, those types of things. The trucks are going to park along, the southeast side of the property. I know it's kind of canted there, but the very back edge of the property is where we envision our trucks parking at night. The very front area in the green is where we intend for employees to park. We probably see 5 to 6 employees parking at this location every day. 1 or 2 of which will be stationed there all day, kind of wrenching on things. And then where the yellow line is, we intend to put an electric gate there to, we've heard from neighbors that there's been squatters, trespassers, those kind of things kind of hanging out at this property. So we'd like to kind of, it looks like the electric company or whoever's managing that substation does a good job of security at kind of at the very end of this alley. So we're going to continue to kind of make the area look a little more lit, if you know what I'm saying. So at night, we may have a light on the side of the building that faces the alley. The red line delineates, kind of roughly where the property lines are. And like Ben previously mentioned, we plan to put a privacy fence along the side. And there's actually another alley. Is that the east side of the property mostly? And then on the other side of those are rental homes and a couple of different businesses. So I've gone on to, and I won't bore you with reading it word for word, but we've kind of described again most of our activities that are going to be at this location. We're going to have 2 mechanics that are stationed there from the hours of 7 to 7, more than likely. When we have breakdowns in the field, we currently don't have a great shop location, so this will be that location. I know kind of circulating the concrete industry, we worry about washout, those types of things. There will be no washout at this location, so there will be no cement water, washing around on the property. There currently is gravel there over the entire lot, and the overhead map shows a lot of overgrown grass and those kind of things. We're hoping that, and Ben kind of verified that we can maintain that gravel at least and get the surface is very solid, but get rid of all the grass and weeds. It says in the second paragraph, goes on to say about the electronic gate, kind of explained that. So we intend to kind of keep watch, if you will, on this little part of town. The next page goes on to explain those 2 full-time asset managers, and 4 to 8 triaxle material hauler trucks, and their personal vehicles will be parked out front. This kind of the supporting information page kind of goes on again to repeat those details about the privacy fence. As I stated, the building's already repainted, looks great. And then there were some utility needs that we came in initially to discuss with Ben. 3-phase electrical supply, which we've been in touch with Lebanon Utilities about, as well as a more commercial grade water supply for washing trucks, filling up water tanks and those kind of things. And that is it. Can I answer any questions?
What is your reasoning behind needing a year to put up the fence?
Right now, there's trees that are along that property line. I wouldn't say that it could be done in a month. It's actually, the trees are outside of our fence, but on the alley. So there's going to be some probably working with Lebanon on that, or finding out whose trees those are to take down. But right now it would be impossible, essentially. So we just kind of need some time to kind of discuss that, I suppose. There's a lot of trees that block the view of this property, which is great, but I understand one day you guys will want to see a fence, the tree's gone, so.
And when do you plan to be operational at this location?
We'd like to move in this December,
Okay.
which is kind of the winter months for concrete companies are kind of slow, so give us time to get in there and do some things.
You propose to store any recycled concrete?
The chances are very slim, but recycled concrete is a more and more popular thing. I mean, with green initiatives and things like that, people do, some jobs you get that request. I wouldn't say in massive amounts if it ends up there, but, I guess whatever Lebanon's preference is on that, we're happy to follow. Mostly clean material, though. We have to use state-approved materials on most of our jobs, so recycled concrete doesn't fall in those definitions right now.
Well, I'm personally all for this, but I'm not for the 1 year on the privacy fence and
I would say that those residents are probably pretty tired of looking at that lot, and it'd be great if we could make that fence a priority.
We could do that. As I stated, the trees that are along there are probably going to need to be dealt with before we invest in I just don't want a rotten tree to fall on it or something
Yeah.
as soon as we build it. But, yeah, I'm happy to work with the city
Well,
on that.
I don't like the year, but on the other hand, to be fair,
6 months.
6 months.
6 months, would 6 months work on something like
We
that?
can do that.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
Is this a road, an actual road leading into this
So
this
right
building?
now, it's an alley. That goes
Looks like
back.
is it
I call
gravel?
It's gravel.
Okay.
Yeah, so the access is gravel. The only piece of pavement is out by the road. It's an old concrete apron that's broken and in pretty bad shape.
Okay.
So it'll be a new apron real soon then,
There will
right?
be a new apron there, yeah. Granted that we have to hook up to water and do some utility upgrades, as Ben mentioned. This building not only did not have a mailbox, but very little utility connection there. So we're excited at the chance to, legitimize the building and the property, but it's going to require some digging out and connecting to things. So there'll be some new concrete sidewalk, I'm sure.
You do residential also,
That's primarily what we do.
primarily? Do you bring debris back to your work site?
We
from your
don't,
work
we
site?
prefer not to, with it only being 3/4 of an acre, we prefer
Okay,
not to.
yeah, okay.
Occasionally, if we had a truck break down, it has a load in it, we have to dump it out, work on the truck, and then put it back in. So ideally, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Sir?
Thank you.
It's a public meeting, if anybody cares to step forward. I don't want everybody to rush up now. We will close the public end of the meeting, and I guess look for a motion, but instead of the 1 year to put the privacy fence up, we were gonna turn that into 6 months.
Very good.
Okay? Look for motion.
I'll make a motion, docket 21-57, to approve the development standard variance request to allow outdoor storage subject to the following condition. And that condition would be to install the proposed privacy fence along the northeast property line, adjacent to existing residential use within 6 months of variance approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kelly?
Mark Vandeman.
Aye.
Chad Kiger. Bruce Polly.
Aye.
Ron Edwards.
Aye.
Lori Gross.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations and good luck with your endeavors, and hope everything turns out. Okay, we don't have anything else on the agenda, I don't think, unless the board has anything.
Like next meeting is Monday, November 1st.
Right. Monday, November 1st, 7 PM is the next meeting. Need to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned until November the 1st.